everybody. Hope you all are off to a great week so far. Welcome to the Light After Trauma podcast. This is episode 7. I am your host, Alyssa Scolari, and today we have with us the executive director and founder of an organization that aims to help victims of domestic violence and human trafficking. His name is Nick Luciano. Nick founded the Forever Your Overwatch Foundation when he recognized the need to train staff and clients at domestic violence shelters in areas such as personal security, active shooter situations, and threat assessments. Nick works as a master instructor at Fort Dix, New Jersey, training pre-deploying troops in active shooter situations, combatives, tactics, warrior mindset, convoys, and urban warfare. Prior to that, Nick worked installing security systems and alarms for residential and commercial buildings. Nick also worked for Blackwater USA and DynCorp, protecting dignitaries overseas in hostile areas, and served 5 years in the U.S. Marine Corps. Some of his training and education include bachelor's degree in communications, active shooter response training conducted by the Department of Homeland Security, and CPR and AED qualified. Hi, Nick. How are you?
Hi, Alyssa. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I am really looking forward to learning a lot about the awesome work that you do. Could you just elaborate a little bit more about what Forever Your Overwatch is, how the organization came about, and what specifically it is that you all do?
So you have somebody, let's say you have a young single mom, small children, just got a restraining order against a violent abuser. Either the abuser was removed from the house or they fled somewhere else. Sometimes to a hotel, to a shelter, a friend's house, or another place to live. The abuser is released from jail, typically, especially in this state, and with the Bail Reform Act. So they're living in fear. So they transition out of the shelter or wherever. They're scared he's going to come. He's going to break in. Lots of times there's threats, history of abuse, pattern of abuse. Weapons sometimes are involved. And they're scared. They don't have the means to get a security equipment. They don't have the means to move and change everything about themselves. So they have to stay at their house. And they're propping up chairs against the door and things, tying belts around doorknobs, things like that to stay safe, sleeping at night with a baseball bat on the couch. And most of them saying, the ones with kids, well, if he's going to come in, I want to confront them first before the children. So what we do is we connect with those families through domestic violence agencies, victim witness advocates, other nonprofits. They usually refer us. We also have a means for the public themselves to just reach out to us as well and ask for help. And we go to the house and we put in security measures, door security bars, cameras, to help with the restraining order violations. If they come back, gives the cops a little bit more teeth. Locks, deadbolts, motion sensors, intrusion alarms, door alarms, window alarms, panic alarms. When you press it, it alerts your contacts, your location, or you're in danger. We have a pepper spray that does that too. You shoot the pepper spray and it notifies your emergency contacts that you're in danger. We do some basic self-protection work with them. Safety planning is big. We empower them to do their own safety planning. We give them tips. We walk through the house with them. We even incorporate them with the actual setup of some of these security measures. Sometimes they don't want to do it, and that's fine. We don't force anybody to do anything. But the goal, it's more of a mental goal, just to get them thinking that they're in charge of their own security, take that control back, empower them. So we turn their house into as safe as we can possibly get it by doing that. If the situation calls for it, we'll put them up in emergency hotels, especially if the abuser has eluded police capture and it's a real dangerous, violent situation. We'll put them in hotels. We also have a program, fairly new. We can monitor the cameras that we put in for them if they choose. So we'll actually have a group of volunteers on standby, taking shifts, just watching the camera for them. And if something happens, the abuser comes back, they got a picture of them, the name, what happened, and they're on a text thread with the client. So the abuser comes, they quickly call the client, he's here, they call the police for them, and they also speak through the camera, hey, stop, police are on their way. Hopefully it's enough to give them pause, get them to stop. We also have another program where it's called Carol's Crusade Kit. If you're still in an abusive situation and it's difficult to contact us or anybody through friends, family, or maybe the client themselves, if they're able to get to a secure means of communication, we meet with them and give them a disguised go bag that we call Carol's Crusade Kit. In it has a new phone with new contacts in it, our contact, domestic violence agency in their areas contacts, law enforcement, obviously, other domestic violence resources, human trafficking, if that's the case, pepper spray, the panic alarm, little mini hidden panic alarm. Some cases, a recording device, if they're trying to compile evidence against the abuser to get that final restraining order and get a possible longer jail sentence to keep them safe, because so many of these cases are he said, she said. The abuser tends to file a counter restraining order against the client saying she abused me too, or he abused me too. And the judge ends up going, all right, look, kids, stop, enough, stay away from one another. And that's it. It's handled like that. And meanwhile, you've got a client who's living in fear for her life and just gets scolded by a judge for, almost like fighting with her brother. So to try to compile evidence against them, we sneak them that stuff. It's in the form of a hanger and other means, other household items that typically only they would have, only they would use. Inside the phone has an Uber gift card, safety planning in it, what to do, where to go, steps to take, things like that. So those are our services in a nutshell. We offer sometimes transportation. We'll do whatever it is that we, every client, every case is different. We'll do whatever we have to keep clients safe.
That's incredible. I mean, you guys are like a team of guardian angels that help. And it sounds like, and I know when you were talking, you were talking mostly about victims of domestic violence, but you also had mentioned human trafficking. So
yes.
you also work with the human trafficking victims.
Yeah, we've only done several, not many. A lot of people associate us with DV, domestic violence, which is, the big bulk of our work.
Yeah.
But I would like it, and a lot of volunteers balk at helping those victims. No one wants to, because of the sensitive nature of it, and they already put themselves at risk helping the domestic violence victims. The human trafficking ones, things get it could get dicey, especially if you're dealing with international. My thing is, I just can't say no to somebody living in fear. If I have the means to help them, I'll be more careful.
Right.
But I'd be a hypocrite if I said, no, I'm not going to help. And there's been a few like that where this is dangerous. I'm not especially brave or anything like that, but I just can't say no to anybody who's legitimately living in fear. So, we have means that, we have things that we do to keep ourselves safe. But right now we've got our lead volunteer for South New Jersey, our regional team leader, Nicole. She's handled a lot of those cases as well. We do things to keep ourselves safe, so I'm pretty confident in our measures that we take.
Now, who are all the people that make up the team? Are you guys just in New Jersey?
We're just in New Jersey for right now, although we have helped clients throughout the country, several. Not many, but there have been clients that have just found us from other states, and it's really difficult for me to, turn anyone down. Right. Although right now we are so swamped with calls from New Jersey, I just can't really help, people in other states right now as much as I want to, because that always costs a little bit more. I got to Amazon them stuff, and we're doing video conferences, and there's no way to vet what's going on with them at all. So right now we're just so swamped and so short on volunteers that I can only help New Jersey and local areas for right now. But we've got me, I'm the CEO, founder, vice president, Zisa Belfar, and her husband, Mark. They're in Monmouth County. They do a lot of the calls in Monmouth and a lot of fundraising.
That's up in North Jersey, right?
Yeah, by the shore.
By the shore. Okay.
Um, yeah, North Shore area. They've done like Middlesex and Ocean counties as well. She does a lot of the fundraising with our main fundraiser, Kara Turk, who's been great. She organized these yoga classes for the summer. She got a bunch of yoga instructors on Bradley Beach to do free classes for the public on the
Oh,
beach.
that's awesome.
And everybody donate. It's a $10 donation to attend the class, and the instructors don't take a dime. We get all of it. So that's been really keeping us afloat during the pandemic. Kara's been great with her very creative means to raise money for us. And then we've got Nicole, who's been huge. Without her, I'd have to turn down cases without Nicole. We're already swamped. She's down here in South Jersey with me. I can't imagine not having her. What we're trying to do is recruit more volunteers, and she's going to train them. Maybe I can take the calls and she can train volunteers, and she's been a huge asset, and we're hoping she stays for forever. We've got Jonas Sherman up in Monmouth County. These are all folks with security backgrounds. They do private security details, and they travel throughout the country. And while they're here, they help us out. We've got Paul Carson. He's active duty Air Force. He's the one running the surveillance program that we have. And we've had a lot of volunteers come and go. Sometimes they have to disappear for a little bit and then they come back. But, we've got our board members who have been very, very supportive in everything that we do. There's so many to thank. I would probably take up your entire show just thanking the people who help us. But those are the core, the key players there.
That's the team, yeah. And I think it's important to note that Forever Your Overwatch is a nonprofit, meaning, and just to make sure that I'm understanding this correctly, so that means that nobody pays for the service. The services that you provide to the victims are free.
Yes, they don't pay a dime ever. We also offer self-protection training, safety planning, situational awareness type classes. They're really follow-up classes, but we open it to the client we've already helped, as well as a way for anybody in the public who needs our help to come to a class and reach out to us that way.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a couple classes in Cherry Hill at Israeli Krav Maga in Cherry Hill. Don, the owner, Don Melnick, he's on our board. He lets us use his gym for free for these.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it doesn't charge us a dime. So we train the women there. And then we do some training there with him as well. And then we've got a couple places in Monmouth County that let us use their place to do the training. Yeah, we've got a lot of supporters like that. So it's another part of our service that I can't wait to reanimate once this thing ends.
I know, once COVID is over. And do you attribute, so you said a couple of times that you guys are so swamped right now. Do you attribute COVID with the increase in DV incidents? Because I know I've noticed that a lot in my private practice. There's been a heightened amount of domestic violence, lots of abusive fights going on. But what are your thoughts on that?
It is not because of COVID. It's the world's biggest coincidence.
Yeah. Yep.
I've been saying this to everybody. Just think, I was at work and, talking to some of the guys like, hey, and my wife and I, we get along great. And we noticed that we were getting a little snippy with one another, especially earlier on. And that's normal. But you take that and then you take somebody who's already abusive. You take somebody who's already got anger issues. And then this just compounds that. And when a normal individual might get snippy with somebody else, this individual just gets totally violent and crazy. So it's not, I ask anybody who's listening, like, have you been short with somebody during this pandemic? I'm pretty sure we all have, or you wouldn't have before. Now you take somebody who's already got some anger issues, a violent, abusive individual, and then you add that. It's a volcano.
It's a nightmare. Absolutely. It's so dangerous. So dangerous.
Yeah.
Now, how long has Forever Your Overwatch been? So you're the founder. What year did you create this organization?
In February 2018.
February of 2018. So can you talk a little bit about what your background was before and what inspired you to start this organization?
So my background was I was in the Marine Corps. Then I used to work for the State Department protecting dignitaries overseas in Iraq, Afghanistan. Started learning a lot about security measures, doing security assessments. I realized that security was a lot more than just hitting people and knowing how to shoot a gun. That was my awakening, doing all that. And then I worked for ADT, putting in alarm systems, cameras, doing security assessments on homes. And then little by little, I just started having these security type jobs. I started realizing self-protection. That's why I call it self-protection, not self-defense. Self-defense conjures up these images of, women in a gym hitting bags, which is great. Yeah. We do that too. But it's such a small part of the overall self-protection plan. So much more goes into it than just physical. So that's when I, really during that time, I got educated on how to implement security measures to keep yourself safe. And then the last 10 years, I've been working at Fort Dix, training the military before they go overseas. And a lot of the courses that we teach aren't just, shoot, run, it's people, when they think of the military, that's what they think. Some of the courses is, urban evasion, how to de-escalate a situation, active shooter response, security assessments of an area, of a location. So all of that just tied in to this. Think of it as a bunch of rings of security. You've got way out here, which is information, where's the abuser now, to my friends and family, keep it on the lookout, police, and my physical house, car, whatever that is, and then you are the final ring. So our philosophy is address all of those rings of security all the way to you. What inspired me was, it's not a great story to tell. It's nothing inspiring, really. It was, for lack of a better word, an accident. I wanted to volunteer to teach. I was like, I know all this stuff. Let me, it's a little bit different than your average security person. A lot of folks, just tell them to get a gun and that's it. Get this, do this, and that's it. You're fine. A lot of folks teaching in absolutes, and there was just always this missing piece of security, huge missing piece. So I wanted to volunteer to teach at a domestic violence shelter. I had no idea why. That was out of nowhere. I think I was just sitting on the couch with my wife one night, and the way my mind works, I'm like, you know what? I want to do this. She's like,
it just came to you.
Yeah, okay, do it. So I just emailed a couple agencies. Camden County Women's Center got back to me first. In fact, they're the only ones that got back at the time. They invited me down, a couple conversations. They wanted to really get to know me. So then I taught a couple classes there. And speaking with some of the women there, they were telling me, look, I'm scared. I don't want to go. I'm going to leave here. I'm going to go home. This is great learning how to punch a bag, but what am I going to do? The guy's 300 pounds, 6'4", got a gun. He's going to stab me. What good is, and I started, there's other things that you can do, security, you can move. And I don't have the money for that. None of them did. So I did a GoFundMe for one, to do security for the shelter itself because it had none. And just to get inexpensive security items like doorstop alarms, door security bars, little intrusion alarms that you just throw up against a door and they just make a loud siren when they go off. Real basic stuff. So I raised money for that, started passing that out at these classes. And one night I get a phone call from one of the senior staff members at Camden County Women's Center. They had a client. Now I was ignorant. I thought that all their clients were in the shelter. I didn't know how any of this, how any of it worked.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, she's home, and the guy said he's going to go over there. He's going to kill her. In my head, again, with all the research I've done, I had no idea that this was a possibility. I was like, what do you mean he's going to go over there and kill him? Well, call the cops. And that was just like, I tell people now, and they asked their response to me. That was my response.
Right. It seems so simple. Yeah.
And the cops don't do that. And I've learned that over the last couple of years, they just don't do that. I mean, they might drive by, but even if there's a threat, they typically don't sit on a house for hours or days, whatever. So I was like, well, what do you want me to do? And like, can't you go there and bring her to the shelter? Like, oh, we don't do that. We can't go to the house. So I was like, all right, I'll go to the house. So I got a bunch of stuff, called a couple buddies up that I worked with, and we showed up to the house. At the time, we didn't know I'm showing up with like baseball bats and knives and not smart. We didn't, we were pretty ignorant. We're thinking this guy's going to show up. We're going to go. We've obviously matured and graduated since then. So
Right.
we put in a bunch of security measures and stayed with her for most of the night. And then, a month later, I get another call. Same thing. Then another call. So started doing more GoFundMe. Then I realized I had to make us official. Then I had to do actual real fundraising. It just started growing from there. The next thing you know, I'm getting a phone call from this agency, or this prosecutor's office heard about us. And, so I put up a crude website, and just little by little it started morphing. And we were doing the mission. Actually, at the time I was doing the mission as we were still trying to get formal and official. I tell everybody, it's not like I had some business plan. I didn't have a roadmap. I still don't have 100% of a roadmap. Our mission's always evolving. The best analogy I can think of is changing the engine out at 70 miles an hour when we have to make a change. The request for help isn't, it's not going to stop. In fact, it just speeds up. So that's how we got started. It's pretty much on accident. I just saw the need for it, and I said, I guess I got to do a little bit more. All right, I guess I got to do a little bit more. Even the programs that we do, this is great, but he's going to track me down. He put a device in my car. I'm like, okay, well, let me get educated on how to use this tracker device that I got and do a sweep on your car. And just little by little, had to expand programs and kind of learn as I go. So I've asked others, volunteers, board members, to be a little bit patient, because there's no precedent. There's no other organization like this in America. I've looked high and low.
Yeah. You guys are the only ones that do what you do. And there's such a learning curve, because it's like, I always think of people who get in the field to combat domestic violence. It's like playing a game of whack-a-mole. It's like, just as soon as you squash one problem, there's another abuser out there with a whole new set of tactics that you have to figure out how to keep that person safe. So you are constantly needing to learn, especially as technology updates itself and people become more and more easier to track. It's got to be more than a full-time job. I mean,
yeah. And I got to do it part-time. I got 2 little ones, a wife, a regular job. And that's why I always preach patience with everyone. I wish it was a full-time job. We do struggle to get volunteers. So I'm still doing a lot of house calls, and it's hard to do that and still do the CEO type stuff,
Yep.
So much paperwork, logistics, ordering equipment. And I get folks like, why do you have this person do this or have this person do that? And I have done that, but a lot of times people say, all right, I'll volunteer, I'll do this. And then they end up disappearing, and, I'm back at square one. I got to get everything. So until we get more established, till we get real solid players and more of them, delegating is going to be a little bit difficult. Lisa and Nicole have been great. Thank God for them. Kara's been amazing. I don't know what I would do without them, but we need more volunteers, more people to take on some of these tasks and to be reliable.
When you say you need volunteers, what are some things that you would expect from a volunteer for those listening out there that are interested in doing so?
Might sound corny, but courage, passion. I'll take courage and passion any day over experience.
Yep.
When I first started this, I was like, I want to get military veterans. Maybe I thought it'd be great for vets. I was a vet. I work with vets. Retired police officers. I thought people like that would be great. And I found that they don't want to. They don't want to volunteer. And I've heard I'm not going into somebody's house. I'm not, you're crazy. I had somebody the closest charity that we saw to this was somebody they transport survivors to their court appearances, something like that. And he told me I was, quote, crazy for going inside homes and being alone with some of the clients, which typically I'm not. But what are you hinting at? What do you mean? Why don't we just admit what you're talking about here? Why wouldn't you go into a home? And you hear liability, and I hear, no, you never know, just not safe. Liability gets thrown around quite a bit. I think it's just a word they like to use.
more of an excuse.
Yeah,
It's an easy word to throw out there. Oh, it's a liability. You can't do that.
yeah. I hear, oh, do you have insurance cover this? And no, yeah, I have insurance, but it's which was almost impossible to get because
I
again, nothing
bet.
like this existed.
Right.
And it was just, I'm not comfortable doing this. I'm not comfortable doing that. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Like, oh, so what you mean when you say you want to help people, you mean you want to hashtag things and post on Facebook is what you mean.
Right.
If no one's going to the house, if no one is getting with them and doing follow-ups with them, I mean, how are you going to help them? How are you going to help them be safe? So I'm a big believer in going to the homes and meeting them personally,
Yes.
case by case. I'm not trying to disparage any other. That's not what I'm trying to do. But in ours, what we're doing, we have to do that. I mean, it's been, suggested to me, oh, why don't you just Amazon a bunch of security stuff and do a virtual safety planning? It's not the same.
No, it's not the same. If anything, it fosters more disconnect to do virtual safety planning. I think people feel more alone than ever.
It's a good point. I mean, yeah, a lot of them, they say the same thing. But psychologically, just what we provide, being in the homes with them.
Yes, it shows people that you are literally with them. I mean, there's such a distance that comes from if you were to sit on a screen, there's just such a distance, and it sends that message that's like, okay, I'm over here in my safety and you're over there in your problems.
Yeah.
It just creates this disconnect. So I totally agree with you on that one.
I was very disappointed at that. I mean, I've had retired cops and veterans reach out, express interest, and then when I told them what we do, I found myself defending what we do to them, and I'm like, and then I'm like, you know what, I'm not doing this. This is what we do.
Yeah.
Are you in or you out? I'm not,
right.
Yes, I want volunteers, but I'm not going to change our mission if you're not comfortable going into Camden to help out a single mom and her 2 kids, then I don't want you. That's simple. I just don't. And sometimes I wonder if because they're so security conscious that maybe it's made them a little bit too risk averse. I have to worry. I have to wonder that, well, that's not safe. Or, or do the police, are they waiting outside? Are they, no. Sometimes we've asked them to, but a lot of times they're too busy and they can't. I don't have a quick reaction team that's going to show up if I get into trouble. I don't have armed guards hanging outside. I just don't. This is what it is. I do everything I can to keep myself, the volunteers, safe. We do training. We have self-protection items. Some of us wear vests. I'm trying to get more vest body armor for us. But at the end of the day, it's a risk. We're trying to help people who are living in fear. There's an active threat of violence against them. That's just by nature. There's going to be, it comes with inherent risk to it.
Yeah, what you're doing is the equivalent to what firefighters do, which is you're walking into the fire, and when you're going to walk into a fire, there's only so much protective gear you can put on, but that is the risk that you take in being a volunteer. And if you are going to volunteer when it comes to domestic violence, you also can't be somebody who says, oh, liability, oh, this, oh, that, because when it comes to DV, nobody gives a shit about liability. Abusers don't give a shit about liability. So I can imagine it's very hard to find people who are willing to commit to that, because in a way it puts them at risk a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you said shit twice. So now I feel like I can say it now. So.
Oh, yeah. We curse on this podcast. Life is ugly.
But no, it's true. It's, and a lot of sometimes people are busy. I get it. Family life. Folks are busy. People have school, family. I totally get it.
Yeah.
Well, just a lot of people, though, who do a lot of talking, post on social media how they're protectors and they're sheepdog. It's an expression that just started several years back. You're a protector of, they train and they're always training. They go to the shooting range and they're doing jiu-jitsu. They're doing mixed martial arts. They're doing Krav. They're working out and getting ready for the apocalypse. Like, all right, look, I got something right now that is real world. If you want to stop
Yeah.
training and maybe use that,
Right. We're in the apocalypse. I mean, domestic violence
Yeah,
is as bad as it gets. And I think people also are resistant to, and not just domestic violence. I know that's the majority of who you work with, but also with human trafficking, people love to turn a blind eye to it. They love to pretend like it's not happening and it's not a real thing.
yeah. Even I didn't know how prevalent it was until I started doing this.
Yeah.
Obviously, I knew it was a thing. I've had family members impacted by it. It really wasn't until I started doing this that I saw how widespread it was. In New Jersey alone, there's an average of one intimate partner homicide a week, one per week, where it's a current
Ugh.
or former intimate partner murders their significant other or ex-significant other, one per week in just this state. And that's murder. We're not even talking about violent assaults, and
Right.
that is up. That's 27,000 a year assaults in this state. Haven't even touched on human trafficking. Haven't even talked about stalking. We help people who are stalked by strangers. That doesn't technically fall under domestic violence. They get threats and they're stalked, by a total stranger for whatever reason wants to harm them. We help those individuals. We don't even know what the stats are for that because they just classify that as murder. Pretty prevalent, more than people think. Gone through news articles, and just in 1 year, I was able to find in this state, I think it was like 7 or 8 just from in a year, typically a female. Oh, there was one male stalked by somebody who was not a current or former partner and murdered. So it's them too. It's in this state. The state's not that big. So all these numbers, chances are it's in your backyard. So
Absolutely.
this isn't made up. This isn't a Tom Clancy novel. This isn't a movie.
This is real life. And the likelihood is, the fact of the matter is that those numbers are actually probably much higher because that's just what's
Oh yeah.
reported. That's
Oh
just what
yeah,
we know
absolutely.
about.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you're not even talking about, undocumented illegals, people like that who, you might not even know.
Because they'll never go to the police. They'll never seek
Yeah,
help. Right. Right.
and a lot of other groups. Yeah, it's bad. It's widespread. It's everywhere. I mean, we got to do our best to, especially me. I'm constantly refocusing my brain, reminding myself that I can't save the world, can't save everybody alone. Because the moment I get burnt out and don't want to do this anymore, and it starts to negatively impact my family, then nobody benefits. So
Exactly. Exactly. At the end of the day, you still have to put yourself and your family first because that's what's going to help you to help everybody else.
yeah,
Now, if people, because I know Forever Your Overwatch does accept donations. So if people wanted to donate, which for all of you who are listening out there, I highly recommend that you do. I had the pleasure of meeting a few people from Forever Your Overwatch. It was an event for victim services, and this was back in 2019. And I was able to see some of the services that they offer and some of the ways that they help their victims. And the work that these people do is incredible and brave beyond words. So whether it's $1, $3, $10, if you guys are able to go donate, Nick, how would they do that?
we have a Facebook page that you can donate to. It's Forever Your Overwatch Foundation, and then a nonprofit that protects and empowers. It's the full name, but if you just type in Forever Your Overwatch, we pop up. We're on Instagram, FYO Foundation. That's typically how we refer to ourselves, FYO Foundation. We're on Venmo. A lot of people like Venmo at FYO Foundation. So Venmo's a big one. A lot of folks donate through there because it's easy.
Yeah, it's easy.
Yeah, people do fundraisers on Facebook at FYO Foundation. Facebook's a big one. A lot of folks do fundraisers for us. Every third Friday, we're doing a virtual spin wheel raffle where we give away some prizes. $25, your name goes on the wheel. We spin it. It's an electronic wheel on the screen. We do that every third Friday. We got the yoga on the beach. We were doing self-protection classes to the public. We're hoping to get those started up again, here the next couple of months. And then we've got our website, fyofoundation.org. That is going to change soon, but if you go there now, you'll be able to, it'll direct you when we do change it, but it's fyofoundation.org. There's a donate button on that. So those are all the ways that you can donate to us.
And if somebody wanted to seek help and seek services through you guys, they would just go to that website as well.
Yeah. And they can also text us or call. Most people prefer to text. It's 833-396-4357.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate everything that you do. You guys are doing, truthfully, some of the toughest work out there. Domestic violence is an insidious beast, as is human trafficking. So kudos to you for doing the work that so many people like to turn a blind eye to. It's amazing. And I really appreciate you coming on the show. I know you're very busy, so thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good one. Appreciate you.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more information on today's discussion and to sign up for the Light After Trauma newsletter, head over to my website at alyssascolari.com. Also be sure to check out my Instagram for additional tips and resources at Alyssa_Scolari_LPC. Thanks again for listening and take good care.